Most people believe that the secret to getting rich is all about finding new ways of increasing their income as quickly as possible. If only I could make more money, people will say, I'd be rich. And there's all kinds of programs out there that sell you on that idea, that what is missing in your life is more income. Well, let's be honest, we'd all like to have more income. But the key thing to realize is making more money doesn't translate into more wealth unless you do something with that money, right? Haven't you gone through that experience? Aren't you making more money today than you were making 10 years ago? What about 5 years ago? My experience working with people is this. As our incomes go up, our spending goes up, right? If you're making $20,000 a year, you live off $20,000 a year and then some. If you're making $30,000 a year, you live off that and then some. And as our incomes go up, even though we tell ourselves every year, if I could just get a raise, then I'd start saving, we don't. We increase our style of living and we just spend a little bit more. Now, before I go right into the Latte Factor, I want to say one more thing to you that's really important. You cannot, I repeat, you cannot positive think your way to wealth. There's a great book out there called Think and Grow Rich. It was an all-time classic, and I love the book. It was written by Napoleon Hill. But a lot of people took off on that premise, didn't read the book because the book talks about action, and they took off on the concept that it's all about the way you think. But your thinking does need to change before your actions change. And so to take you into the thinking behind realizing you have the money it takes to be wealthy, I'm now going to take you into the story of the Latte Factor. Because the Latte Factor started with a real life woman telling me, David, you're full of it. I'm teaching a 4-week class. I have been teaching for almost 10 hours. All these ideas. You got to pay yourself first. You need to save some of your income. And a woman came up to me and she raised her hand. She said, David, I got to tell you something. Everything that you've taught us in this class over 4 weeks is good in theory, but not in reality. Now, when the woman raised her hand and said this, first of all, let me tell you her name. Her name was Kim. When she raised her hand and said this, it was like somebody was throwing a spear into my heart. I've only got 10 minutes left in the class. I thought I taught this great class, and all of a sudden somebody is standing up and telling me that everything I taught is good in theory, not in reality. And I was just totally 100% shocked. I said, Kim, what are you talking about? She said, David, first of all, I'm only 2 years out of college. She said, I'm making right now about $35,000 a year. I live in San Francisco. I don't have a dime to pay myself first. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I'm totally broke. There's no way any of these ideas can work for me. Now, it would have been easy for me to just poo-poo that. But what I started noticing, much to my dismay, was that a lot of people in the room were nodding, which meant they agreed with her. They could relate to what she was saying. So at that moment, I stopped what I was doing and how I had planned to end the class, and I walked up to a blackboard, an honest to goodness old school blackboard with chalk. You know when you used to have those in your classroom? I walked to the blackboard and I said, you know what, Kim, let's just play a game here. Let's take a look at where you spend money. I want to go through your day. So let's start with the morning. In the morning, as when you get up, do you drink coffee? And her friend was with her, and her friend kind of gave her a nudge and went, oh my God, you don't even want to see Kim in the morning without coffee. I said, great. Is it the coffee that you get at work, the free coffee in the dirty coffee pot? Kim kind of giggled and went, oh no, I stop in the morning and I get my coffee on the way to work. I said, oh, I bet you go somewhere fancy to get your coffee. She said, no, I don't go anywhere fancy. I go to Starbucks. I go, oh, okay. The whole room's kind of laughing at this point. I go, oh, the non-fancy place, Starbucks. Okay, you get a regular cup of coffee? She goes, well, no, I get a grande non-fat latte. I said, a grande non-fat latte. Out of curiosity, Kim, what does a grande non-fat latte cost? And she said, well, $3.50, of course. And, at this point, there are other people in the room who actually had lattes in their hand that were sipping, so they started kind of squirming in their chairs. And I said, okay, Kim, and I went up to the board and I wrote $3.50. I said, now, do you get anything to eat with that? She said, well, yeah, I get a muffin. I said, okay, well, what's the muffin cost? And she said, $1.50. So I went up to the blackboard and I wrote $1.50. At that point, somebody said, $1.50 for a muffin? How can a muffin cost $1.50? Kim said, well, it's fat-free. And again, the whole room kind of started laughing. And now, wait a minute, we all do this, so let's not pick on Kim. Let's just keep going through her day. So I said, Kim, now you get to work. You've already, by the way, spent $5. And that doesn't include the fact that you got to leave some change in the tip jar at the front desk, will be mad at you. But you've already spent $5. I know you have no money, but you already spent $5 and you're not even at work yet. Okay, great. So you get to work. Now what happens? She says, well, I go to work, and then I go, well, hold on. Do you have a break? You get to work at 8. Between 8 and 12, do you take a break? She goes, yeah, I take a break. Okay, I know where you're going with this, David. I said, well, where do you go on your break? She said, at 10 o'clock, I go and I get some juice. I said, oh, again, does your company give you fresh squeezed juice? She said, no, I go to a place called Jamba Juice. Now, depending on where you live right now, you may have not heard of Jamba Juice, but Jamba Juice is opening up next door to every Starbucks. Basically, they make this great, fresh, squeezed juice. It's delicious. It's healthy for you. I said, Kim, how much does Jamba Juice cost? She said, oh, it cost about $3.95. So again, I'm up at the blackboard, $3.95. And yeah, and then her friend goes, yeah, but Kim, you also get that juice boost thing in it. You know, that ginkgo biloba stuff. I go, you put ginkgo biloba into your juice boost? She's like, oh, come on, you know, you need to have a fresh, breathing, clean brain, right? If you're in California, you got to have your brain clear. So now at this point, after we found out about the ginkgo biloba, you know, the powder that she's got to put into her juice so that her brain has oxygen in it, the whole room's cracking up. And I'm still up at the board, and I go, okay, great. So you got your juice boost, you got your ginkgo biloba, which we know it's not called ginkgo biloba, but you got your fresh squeezed juice. Do you get anything to eat with that, Kim? And Kim goes, yeah. I get a power bar, David. I'm starving. All I had was that non-fat muffin earlier. Well, what's a power bar cost? $1.75. Now, again, I'm up at the blackboard, and I total it up. And it's $11.20. Now, remember, she spent $11.20, not including tax and tip, and she hasn't even got to lunch yet. The poor girl is starving. She hasn't even got to lunch yet, and she's already spent $11.20. Now, at this point, the room's having a pretty good time with this. Everybody's kind of laughing. Now, one of the reasons they're all laughing is because we're all guilty of this. But I go, you know what, Kim, let's just stop right there. We don't have to go through the rest of your day. Let's just do some basic math. All right, for the sake of argument, let's just pretend for a moment that instead of every morning going and getting a grande non-fat latte, you actually made your coffee at home. Instead of spending $5 in the morning, you'd have coffee that cost about a dime and maybe a piece of toast or an apple. So you'd only be out of your pocket, let's say 20, 25 cents, and you'd go to work. Now, again, I'm not trying to get you to starve or change your whole life. I just want to use this example. Imagine, for the sake of argument, that you could save $5 a day. I said, do you think you could do that? She said, fine, let's just see what happens. I said, okay, great. $5 a day over the month is $150. Now, let's take that out over the year. That's $2,000 a year. I said, now, you're really young. How old are you? She said, I'm 23. I said, okay, great. 23 years old. What would happen if, for the sake of argument, I know this is crazy, I know you say this stuff doesn't work in practicality, but what would happen if you put that money into your 401k plan at work, where you paid yourself first and you saved the money? How much do you think you would have when you got ready to retire? She says, I don't know, $200,000? I said, try again. She said, I don't know, $500,000? I said, try again. How about, and I ran the calculations, nearly $1.2 million in savings. I said, now the truth is, that's a lowball estimate. I go, because where do you work, Kim? And it turned out she worked at the Gap. I said, doesn't the Gap match your 401k plan? When you put money in your 401k plan, don't they actually contribute extra money? She said, yeah. I said, okay, great. So let's factor in that. And I ran the numbers. Here's what it came back at. At the age of 65, and I'm not suggesting that she's going to work till 65, but we just wanted to do the calculations. I said, Kim, if you save $5 a day by cutting back on your latte and you put it away, by the time you're 65, you're going to have $1,742,467. Now, at this point, Kim's a pretty smart woman, and she puts her hands on her hips and she kind of looks at me and she says, David, are you trying to tell me that my lattes are costing me $1,742,467? And what did I say? Yes. The whole room looked at her like, duh, aren't you listening? I said all of us spend money in little ways that add up to a fortune. And I named it at that point the Latte Factor. Go, Kim's Latte Factor. The message here about the Latte Factor is not the latte. It's a metaphor. So all I want you to do when you go home tonight, is think about what is your Latte Factor. For some of you, it could be $5 a day. For some of you, let's face it, it could be over $100 a day. It all depends on your lifestyle. Well, here's the interesting thing. As we walked out of the classroom, what I found is that most of the people in the room were talking about the Latte Factor. They were all excited. Oh, what's your Latte Factor? What's my Latte Factor? And as I got to my car, I realized, God, this is a pretty interesting concept. It's so basic, it's so simple, but people can relate to it. And I thought the next time I go back and teach a class, I've got to teach this Latte Factor idea. Well, it's been almost 10 years, and now I've been teaching it all around the world, and it's taken off. As I told you earlier, it's been everywhere. But the idea of the Latte Factor, again, it's the metaphor. It's taking a look at how we spend money in small ways that can literally add up to a fortune.